Good morning, students. Welcome to our 12th class on Christopher Marlowe's play, The Tragical History of Dr. Faustus. So, we have already finished a lot of classes and we have already learned the major elements, the major aspects that are running through the play. So, we have met Faustus, we have met all the other characters, and let's see what happens in today's class. So we have Act 3, Scene 1 in today's class, and in some textbooks it is, in some versions it is Scene 10, okay, or in some books it is Act 4, Scene 3 also. But for us, let us remember it is Act 3, Scene 1 or Scene 10. Okay, that's what we have today. And what happens? So we are now again seeing what is Faustus up to is what we see through this scene as well. So we get more insights into Faustus's life with the help of Mephistopheles, with the help of newly learned magic. Okay, so we learn here. We know Faustus wants necromancy, wants magic. We know Faustus is somewhere deviating from what he wanted initially when he wanted magic. That is, he wanted to know about the world, but now he is actually into some other things as soon as he got magic in his hands. Right? He's playing cheap tricks. We already saw in the scene of Pope. And in continuation, we see Faustus using his power, magical power, in different way in this scene as well. Okay, so Faustus's use of power is what you're going to see in this scene. So what do we hope to learn? We hope to learn, we hope to understand, same thing, how Faustus uses power, how Faustus uses power differently than how he intended initially is what you're going to learn here. Let's recapitulate. Faustus visited Rome. He played cheap tricks on the Pope and friars. And Faustus's knowledge has made him famous, we know. In between, we also saw Robin and Ralph, who were again trying to create use a magic for cheap tricks, and how they want to create some kind of master-servant relationship around with the help of magic is what we saw. Now we've got a hint. Is that what hint we have is that Faustus is invited by the emperor at Innsbruck. Okay, Emperor Carolus the Fifth has invited Faustus to his court. So what does it say? Of course, at the outset it says Faustus is famous, right? Yes. So let's see what happens in Act 3, Scene 1. At the German court, Innsbruck is the place, right? At the German court, Emperor Carolus asks Faustus for something. Through magic, Emperor wants Faustus to do something, and Faustus does that. What does he do? In a slightly different way, but he does something. Okay, we'll see that. And this scene again adds to the comedy because there is a knight here who is, ridiculed by Faustus's axe here. Okay, so the German court, the emperor asks Faustus. Let's see what emperor says to Faustus in the beginning. He says, Dr. Faustus, I have heard strange report of thy knowledge in the black art. How that none in my empire nor in the whole world can compare with thee for the rare effects of magic. They say thou hast a familiar spirit by whom thou can accomplish what thou list. This therefore is my request, that thou let me see some proof of thy skill, that mine eyes may be witnesses to confirm what mine ears have heard reported. And here I swear to thee by the honor of mine imperial crown that whatever thou dost, thou shalt be nowhere prejudiced nor endamaged. Okay, very, very clear. Emperor says he has heard of Faustus, that Faustus knows black magic. Nobody in the world can compare with Faustus in black magic, and that Faustus has somebody, a spirit, which helps him in accomplishing the things. Now he wants to personally, with his own senses, wants to see Faustus's capacities, Faustus's power, Faustus's magical skills. Okay, so there is a knight in between. There is a knight in the court of emperor who is skeptical, who is not very happy with Faustus's skills, who is skeptical of Faustus's capacity, right? Knight in between says, aside. Aside is he's saying the audience can hear it, but nobody on the stage can hear it. But we know Faustus is able to hear because Faustus is, he has other potentials, right? Magical potentials, so he can hear. Knight says, in faith, he looks much like a conjurer. So he's making all these skeptical comments in between, and he pays a price for it at the end. Okay. Now, Faustus is modest, he is humble in front of the emperor. He says, okay, I can do something, I can do this, I can do that, he says. Um, Now, emperor has asked him something. What does he say? Emperor asks Faustus to bring to life Alexander the Great and his paramour back to life. Emperor says, please bring Alexander the Great and his paramour back to life. Okay, that is what emperor wants to see. So Faustus is very clear. Faustus says he cannot bring dead people into life again. Faustus is very honest. He says, I cannot bring the dead people back to life because they are gone in dust. What I can do is I can actually bring in front of you two spirits who look exactly like Alexander and his paramour. Okay, Faustus says, but if it like your grace, it is not in my ability to present before your eyes the true substantial bodies of those two deceased princes, which long since are consumed to dust. I cannot bring, but such spirit as can lively resemble Alexander and his paramour shall appear before your grace in that manner that they both lived in their most flourishing estate, which I doubt not shall sufficiently content your imperial majesty. Right? So Faustus is honest. He tells, I can only bring you this. So emperor wants that. Mephistopheles conjures, brings two spirits in the shapes of Alexander and the paramour. See the fantastic fantasy elements right here. So all these magical fantastic elements created on stage. Imagine how the Elizabethan audience would be so thrilled, so excited to see all these things on stage. Right? Now, our emperor wants to check whether it is so true. So emperor says, Master Doctor, I heard this lady, while she lived, had a wart or mole in her neck. How shall I know whether it be so or not? Faustus says, yes, you go ahead and check if she has a mole on the neck. The emperor checks and says, sure, these are no spirits, but the true substantial bodies of those two deceased princes. So emperor is thoroughly satisfied. He is happy. He is satisfied to see Alexander and his paramour very, very lively, very, very live presence in front of him. Okay, so emperor declares that these two spirits are real after inspecting them. And now Faustus turns towards the knight who has ridiculed him, who has been passing sarcastic comments against Faustus's skills. Right? Now Faustus turns towards him. Okay, so the knight comes again. He had gone out, so now he comes again. So what has happened? There are two horns on the head of the knight. Imagine, so comical for Elizabethan audience, where two horns are there on the knight's head when he reappears in the court. How did it happen? Of course, Faustus has done it. What did it mean? Yes, it meant specifically something for that time. What it meant in the 16th century England was that he is a cuckolded man. His wife has cheated on him. Right? That is what it implies when man has two horns on his head. So by making it public, by making that his wife has cuckolded him public in the court, Faustus is trying to, Faustus is trying to take revenge against the knight who ridiculed him. Okay. The knight comes back scolding, thou damned wretch and execrable dog. He calls names to Faustus. He scolds him. But he is very humiliated, and then the emperor intervenes and emperor tells, please exempt him, don't make him suffer like that. Finally Faustus tells Mephistopheles, remove those horns, because he says he is a scholar. This is what Faustus calls himself. Okay, Mephistopheles, transform him straight, he orders. So Mephistopheles removes the horns. Now, my good lord, having done my duty, I humbly take my leave, he says. Okay, Emperor says, farewell, Master Doctor, yet before you go, expect from me a bounteous reward. So Emperor is giving him a lot of reward. See the materialistic returns? Yes, Faustus is exchanging his magic for magical cheap tricks for some kind of materialistic gain. Yes. So that is what we see in the scene, end of that scene. So what we see is Faustus's use of power, misuse of power rather. Faustus tries to impress people with his feats rather than striving to use powers for nobler purposes. He's not using it to gain knowledge, to know about the universe, to understand the world, to attain a better knowledge, better learning, but he was using it to, get power in a very cheaper manner. Right. The scene is important also because we can understand Faustus' fame has spread around the world and that he is mishandling it by satisfying people's banal desires, small trivial desires. He has drifted away from his path of seeking universal knowledge and is more indulged in fulfilling mundane cravings. Right. He sets out to create illusions and tricks instead of attempting to acquire higher learning. He appears humble before the emperor, but he displays at the same time vengeance against the knight. Right? He cannot take any contrary opinion. He is very revengeful of the knight. So he makes a full fool out of the skeptical knight, right? So he is increasingly proud of his occult powers, which is evident in the way he mistreats the knight. So it's also ironic that Faustus sums up Alexander the Great, a man who conquered the entire world. He summons him on the stage, but he is doing the impossible, but he is not using the knowledge for a better purpose. Right? That's what we learned. And the scene as a whole, it does not add anything to the. So incident with the knight also shows it demonstrates how Faustus has become increasingly proud of his occult powers, and there is a humor that is created, right? So humor on the stage by creating comical scene of characterizing the knight as a cuckolded man for the Elizabethan audience. That's what we learn. Two elements we learn from this play, and at the end, the play as a whole does not add much to the development of the plot, except that it demonstrates how Faustus's fame has grown and that he has resorted to satisfying very, very mundane yearnings, very small cravings. He's using his magic for. Right. So Faustus visits Germany, conjures up Alexander the Great and his paramour. He grows horns on the head of the knight, as the knight is sarcastic and insults Faustus. So Faustus becomes increasingly proud of his occult powers. That is what we learned through this session. So I hope you have understood it. So we have some MCQs here as usual. You can check your knowledge, your understanding of this scene. Basically, you have understood, right? Okay, Faustus is misusing his power and he has become very banal now. He is actually acting very mean in front of people. But his fame has really, really grown. So MCQs for you. Hope you have understood. We'll stop our class here. Thank you.